This is the Vet Alumni Podcast with Tek Prem.
It's the Vet Alumni Podcast. I'm Tek. He's Prem. Well, the Phils...
They're back tonight.
They're back tonight.
I'm excited. I hate when they have off a day now.
I
just
hate
want
it
to
too.
watch
You know what?
baseball.
I hate it too. They lost 2 straight series in Colorado and San Francisco. 2 very tough places to play, at least for the Phillies.
Anomalies to me, personally.
I get it. Despite all that, they're still the best team in baseball.
They
Heading
are.
into the weekend series.
Same lead.
St. Louis, yeah.
Same lead. That
6
blows my mind.
games
The Braves are so poor right now. They didn't gain
Acuna
not one
done
game.
for the year.
You don't want to ever see that. You know, God bless the guy.
They won the World Series without him. I know different vibe and all.
They did. Yeah, they did. But that's not happening this year.
Yeah. Well, by the way, this weekend I know they're back home. Everybody's excited. Like they're gonna dust their shoulders off from what happened. St. Louis is heating up.
They are, and let me say this: the Reds sweep the Dodgers last weekend, and then promptly lose 2 straight to who? The Cardinals.
They're heating up.
But Mikolash is pitching tonight. That's a win for the Phils.
You think so?
Rock this dude. The numbers are really good against him.
And
even Bryce has good numbers against him.
It's Nola on the mound, right?
Nola's on the mound. He has great numbers against the Cardinals. Really one of the few teams that Nola, across his entire career, has pretty much dominated.
And this series, the whole series, is Nola, Ranger, Walker, right?
It's 2 out of 3. The Walker game's a
Walker's
loss.
been terrible.
It's almost like you expect a loss when he takes the mound. He actually gets squared up. He's one of the top 10 worst pitchers, and who squares up the ball on him.
Yeah, the contract makes him, unfortunately, untouchable.
It's the worst signing of the Dombrowski era.
It really is. I can't point to
Castellanos
it.
would be second.
Castellanos would be second only because it's like they don't even sit him for a day.
I don't get it, man.
They don't even sit him.
It's funny, though, because we were talking about that the other day, how they should have sat him in the final game in San Francisco, and he's the reason you win the game.
Yeah, but look.
Go figure.
What do you have, 3 hits and a home run?
That's baseball.
That's baseball. That's baseball. Nick Castellanos is the Tobias Harris of the Phillies. Now,
Best comparison.
I was going to do a whole thing about this, but I figured we don't need to.
It's not worth it.
Every 3 weeks, when the chatter has reached an absolute boiling point from all areas, social media, TV, radio, when the chatter hits that all-time ceiling, Nick Castellanos has a tremendous game.
Yeah, but then what's going to happen now is we're probably going like a 1 for 31.
That's right. And $100 million makes him irreplaceable and unsittable.
Man, but I will say, going back to Taijuan Walker, if you could package him with one of our shortstop prospects, because we have in our top 11 prospects, actually, there's 4 shortstops, Tek. You're not going to get rid of Aiden Miller. He's not going anywhere. You can't, because he can play anywhere. Well, not anywhere.
Oh, let's go with that Mason Miller kid from Oakland. It's like, I already seen multiple reports that they want Aiden Miller. It's like, you're not getting him.
Nah, but he's lighting it up. But you can package one of those shortstops so you don't need 4.
The second kid.
The second kid or the third kid, and then put him with Walker. Hopefully, a team that wants to get better and rebuild.
Probably have to give up another game. Take McGarry, too.
Yeah, he's a good Griff McGarry. Actually, I just ordered an autograph card of McGarry's. I like to stock up on the prospects because it's like lottery tickets.
Yeah, my grandfather did that with Mike Lieberthal.
That didn't work out too well.
No, it didn't. He was good for a limited time.
That's true. I did it with Bohm, though. I got a Bohm autograph, rated rookie from like a Donruss rated rookie reprint. Like, remember they did the rated rookies back in the 90s?
Yeah.
It's like a reprint style refractor with the Bohm signature.
I would say he's the best player on the team this year.
He clearly has been, besides
now.
Ranger. But, pitching, hitting different.
Aside from pitching.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Definitely Ranger.
Best hitter
Ranger's
on the team.
number 1, I
Absolutely.
think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Rojas. All right. When I saw him out of the lineup the other day, and look, I feel like this. I feel like Pache, and I know Stolen said it last week, where he initially thought that it was a redundant position. Pache is a redundant style of player to Rojas. I feel like when Trey comes back, and Trey, by the way, I think Stolness was dead on. I think Trey was supposed to come back this weekend, had that setback, and it might be another 2 weeks before we see him, maybe another week or two.
That's okay to me because you want him to be right because the hamstring you can't play around with. But Rojas is on a 3-game hitting streak with clutch 2-out hits.
I get it, but when he gets back, I wouldn't be surprised if Rojas is the one who gets sent down.
Nah, unfortunately, it's either going to be Cody or a pitcher.
I would hope it's not Clemens.
It's either going to be Ruiz or Clemens.
I'm not a huge Ruiz
You got to keep Pache and Rojas in the lineup because they're both righties, and there's going to be some nights where you're sitting.
See, but
Marsh
I feel like you need Clemens. You need a lefty off the bench.
I love Cody. I think he's a great player.
I love the guy.
I really think he has a passion for the game.
I've seen more up than down from him.
I have too, but the unfortunate truth, in my opinion, is you need 2 outfield right-handed bats that give you plus defense when Trey comes back, and I think that's the reason why Pache and Rojas both stay up. And Rojas has given you, really before the season, if you would have said, the kid's going to hit 230, he's going to swipe the most bags in a team, and he's going to have a few 2-out RBIs that win you a few games, and that's exactly what we've gotten. He's actually been hitting better than some of the guys that pay a lot of money.
No, I agree.
He's hitting at the same clip as Schwarber, pretty much.
Because look at Castellanos. You're paying Castellanos $100 million to bat 209 with 24 RBIs.
Crazy. But, Schwarber, it's horrible. Schwarber's actually up. He's at almost 240. He's got a 10 or 11 jacks.
And June hasn't even started. We're right around the corner here.
He's on a 40 home run pace. Bryce is on a 40 home run pace. Alec Boehm's on a 120 RBI pace.
Yeah, Alec Boehm, yeah.
Even Stott is on like a 90 RBI pace. These guys are really just stacked. And I'm going to get to a fun topic in our Numbers Don't Lie this week.
That's right. Numbers Don't Lie is returning
for the first time in a while. I think I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it coming back, and I might even make this the theme to track this exact topic, which our listeners will hear about the comparison to this point in the season with a historic club. And I can track it almost weekly.
Wow.
Which would be fun to do.
It will be. All right. Not only that, we'll hit the vet line with DaShawn Abrams.
You know why I like this guest, Tech? Because we always have like front-facing personality guests, like the TV anchors, the radio host, the former coaches. This is a behind-the-scenes Emmy-winning editor for ESPN.
Wow.
Fun stuff.
It is fun stuff. We're going to talk some Birds and Sixers with him. But first, brought to you by the Fairless Hills Academy of Music, it's time for VetPhact.
This is a VetPhact.
Well, Tech, exactly 43 years ago today, the St. Louis Cardinals came to the Vet.
There we go.
The St. Louis Cardinals are at the bank tonight. The Phils would have no trouble at all in front of 54,103 fans. They would win the game easily by a score of 6-1. After dropping the first run to the Cardinals in the third, trailing 1-0, they'd score 6 unanswered. It was a complete team effort for this club, as you had multi-hit games from Rose, Trio, Boa. You had multi-RBI games from the Sarge, from Bob Boone. You know what? Even Schmitty scored a run in this one.
There we go.
And we know VetFacts are notorious for Schmitty did nothing.
I don't know how that could possibly be.
But that wasn't the case. Lefty was on the mound.
Yes.
Complete 9 innings, of course.
Of course.
Only strikes out 6, but it didn't matter. He scattered 5 hits, only allowed 1 earned run. Pitched around some things. He walked 3, but he pitched around it. He finished the day with a 2.84 ERA.
That's a phenomenal outing.
A phenomenal outing at the Vet. I mean, 54,000. Don't forget, this was the defending World Series champions, May 31st, 1981. So people were excited to repeat Tech.
Yes.
And you don't get to do that much in this city.
No, not at all.
Some notable players on the Cardinals that year. Tommy Herr.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Also a Philly at one point.
Also a Philly.
Keith Hernandez, the notorious Met who hates the Phillies.
Yeah.
And even a guy named Sixto Lezcano. Nobody remembers Sixto
No, I
Lezcano.
do not. It's Sixto Sanchez.
We know Sixto Sanchez, who ironically is going tomorrow for the Marlins, I believe.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the Marlins.
We'll get to that.
He was in the JT trade, right? Is that what
I think he was. We'll get to that in the pick segment, though.
Oh, there we go.
A couple notable things about this game. Gary Matthews would have finished today with a 329 average on the year. Just phenomenal. Pete Rose would have finished today with a 317. We know that Charlie Hustle always hit above 300.
Oh, yeah.
Just a great day to be at the Vet. The game only took an hour and 45 minutes.
How's that even possible?
That's faster than the pitch clock era. You know why? Because Lefty would get the ball and work.
He worked fast.
Work. Kind of like Roy Halladay.
There you go.
They would just overwhelm hitters with their stuff.
And work really fast, yeah.
What a night. So hopefully we get the same result tonight, as the Phils would win 6-1, improving their record to only 27-19. Tech.
Wow.
The defending champs were a little up and down early in 81.
Right.
We know they didn't make it to the big series that year. They got knocked out in the playoffs that year, I believe by the Dodgers, who stung them from the previous year getting knocked out by the Phils. But that's how baseball goes.
Yeah, that's baseball.
That's baseball. May 31st, 1981.
The Sixers, Prem. Keith Pompey wrote a really excellent article this week in the Inquirer breaking down the Sixers situation. So I'm resistant to all the Paul George and all the Jimmy Butler talk, but check it out, right? They pretty much have to spend their money now.
Yeah, I know.
They can't hold on to it in this window. You have to spend for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, because you have Joel, who only has maybe 2 more years of prime left.
And there's that reason. There's also the reason where if you don't spend that money, then Joel, there's no guarantee he even wants to be here.
Yeah, because this guy at this point, the only thing that's going to cement his legacy is winning a ring.
That's
now,
it.
Personally, though, Tech, the whole stars past their prime on the move talk that everybody gets so excited about.
I think it's a little overhyped.
It's beat to death.
It's beat to death, and it's a little. I get it, right? But Paul George,
I mean,
he's
doesn't
still
move
a top
the meter,
25.
but it doesn't move the meter for me.
I get
don't know,
it,
man.
But he's never played with 2 guys like. First of all, he's never played with a big man.
That's
like
a valid
Joel.
argument. That's a valid argument.
And a guy like Tyrese Maxey, he hasn't played with a guy like that since the Russell Westbrook days, when he had Russell Westbrook. So, I mean, you would be putting him in the best situation he's been in.
But he's not coming here.
Maybe not, okay, because the Clippers own his bird rights, so they can offer him like $14 million. I don't know if that matters to him at this point.
Well, maybe not, because he never won a ring, right?
Right.
Okay.
He could be enticed to want to play with Joel. He's already. It's reported that he said he likes Joel. By the way, when he signed with LA, he's from the LA area, so he wanted to go back home.
Which makes sense. Most guys at some point like to go back home. Deshaun Jackson, for example.
Right. But since then, he's gotten married. His wife from New York.
Oh,
so
it
could be moving back to the East Coast. You're 2 hours away from where your wife is from.
Hey, look, sometimes the chips fall in a certain way.
Right. So you never know. Like the Paul George thing that's a fluid situation. And another fluid situation is, listen, they are fully prepared. In this article that Keith Pompey wrote, he pretty much broke the news that the Sixers are completely willing to trade for Butler and give him the max, giving him, $209 million or whatever it is, and that they regret 5 years ago not doing it.
Of course they do. Now, even though Butler is another guy that is probably past his best basketball, I would rather a guy like Jimmy than Paul George, and I'll tell you why. I think that the chemistry that already exists between him and Joel would go a long way come playoff time.
It matters.
Jimmy's a killer.
And the fact that Jimmy, we're 1 year removed from him being in the Eastern Conference Finals and in the finals.
Yeah, and not only
in the finals.
you have 2 guys that aren't afraid to handle the ball when it matters most late. That's Tyrese and him, because honestly, Joel is not that guy.
No, I don't want him to be that guy.
He doesn't handle the ball well in the final minute. Even the game against the Knicks that we had well in hand. Remember, he almost knocked it out of bounds.
Yeah,
late.
terrible.
He gets real jittery, and that's not a championship quality. Jimmy possesses championship quality.
He does. He'll miss some shots, but he'll make the big ones.
He will, and he's got a certain attitude on the court that I feel like you want on the court.
Right.
You want, especially Philly.
So another tidbit that he threw in there. I don't know if it was this article or I also heard him. He was talking with Rob Ellis, and in one of these he mentioned the fact that LeBron James, right? So Daryl Morey has spent the last decade trying to sign LeBron James every chance that LeBron became available.
Well, many GMs.
Yes, but LeBron, the Sixers are actually in a position to pay LeBron more than any other team or close to more than any other team.
40 now, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's going to be. So, but that's, look, he's still
I know
LeBron.
it's LeBron
He's
James,
played some uninspired basketball with the Lakers. He kind of knew that he wasn't going anywhere.
Maybe that
there.
will change if he's with Joel. I see where you're going with
It
that.
could end with Tyrese, where he doesn't have to be the guy. He can just be the veteran ball player.
Right.
And bringing
coordinate, and he dishes like no other.
Right, and he brings like top 5 of all time energy to this team with championship. He's got rings. It's a whole thing when you get LeBron.
Yeah, no question. I mean, the guy defines this century of basketball.
But here's the deal: LeBron will most likely take much less to either stay in LA or go to Phoenix. This is where
Phoenix,
it's at.
To play with Devin Booker, if I'm LeBron,
that's where I go.
It's way more appealing.
Yeah, of course.
Devin Booker is by far.
Especially if they manage to keep KD.
I mean, he's one of the best players in the West.
I've been wanting Booker for years, and then when they maxed him out, I was like, that's the end of that.
Yeah, as you expect they would.
Yeah, of course.
A guy like that.
Yeah. So, I know DaShawn Abrams. He covers the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing because he's a more national perspective.
Yeah, we're going to get a nice national basketball talk going.
I'd like to, from a national perspective, see where he's at with the Sixers' summer plans. Because it's as much as I'm all in on the Phillies, and even when the Birds start revving up, the Birds are very. I'm not going to say like, they're a Super Bowl. They're a very interesting team.
It's a wait and see
to monitor. It's
a wait and see right now.
Yeah, but the Sixers and what they're going to do is fascinating. I'm fascinated by what they're going to do.
Still weary about just the topic.
Well, yeah, because look,
it just makes me weary.
The only people I would bring back from this current group outside of Embiid and Maxey are Oubre and Batum. And guess what? Those are your 4 starters. Now,
I like Melton, though.
Now you're hunting. Well, see, I think they'll be priced out of Melton.
Probably.
I think Melton's going to be able to get more money elsewhere. And if I were him, I would do it.
You're done with B-ball Paul.
Yeah, I think
because you were a B-ball Paul guy.
Yes, I was. I think you need to look. I still like him, right? But I think you need to upgrade from him.
You do. I mean, look, he's a cool story. I mean,
and here's the thing, right? It's second year in a row where in the playoffs, especially, but in crucial moments throughout the year, and especially the playoffs, as soon as Embiid goes to the bench, forget about it.
You're going to lose that plus minus at that point.
You could be up 10, Embiid goes to the bench, and then when Embiid comes back in,
or maybe you're losing,
or maybe you're down 4, maybe you're down 6,
and that was never more evident than against the New York Knicks, who just how bad were they?
They couldn't wait. They couldn't wait for Embiid to hit the bench. They couldn't wait.
I know, and Jalen Brunson's the true killer of that squad. I mean, that guy's a stud.
Yeah.
Really in the NBA playoffs, to me, it usually comes down to who has the most true instinct killers on the team.
Absolutely.
And the Knicks just have those guys.
If I was the Sixers, I'd bring back Oubre and Batum, and they would be my starters.
Yeah, Batum is solid. I like Batum.
They would be my starters alongside Maxey and Embiid, and now I'm basically.
And then you're ready for that other stud.
I'm about to max out. My fifth
Paul
starter,
George,
whether it's Paul George,
the
or
LeBron, the Jimmy Butler, right?
Yeah,
you got to get one of those guys.
You got to because,
after all the talk, especially.
Yes, because look, if you get stuck having to go Zach LaVine or Brandon Ingram,
well, LaVine is a good player.
Yeah, but he's always hurt.
I know,
and I question just how good he is because even before he got hurt. The Bulls stunk. It wasn't like
different when you got to be the only guy. That's one thing.
That's
but now
true.
when you're balancing with Embiid and Maxey.
That would be interesting. It would be interesting to see LaVine.
But it's still a tier down. It's still the next tier.
Yes, it is. And Brandon Ingram's even a tier down from Zach LaVine.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Brandon Ingram was good a few years ago, but now he's like a younger Tobias Harris.
He's a role player.
Yeah,
he's a good role player.
I certainly don't want to trade draft picks and do a whole thing to get Brandon Ingram and him be the answer.
No,
you can't.
No.
It can't possibly
How
be
crazy is it that when this was all going down with the Harden situation, we were like, Halliburton.
Yeah.
Look at it now.
Right. You're right.
Imagine Halliburton this year on that Sixers team. They're going to the or they're at least going to the conference finals to play the Celtics.
Absolutely. I don't know that they beat the Celtics.
I don't think anybody does in the East this year.
And by the way, next year too, I think you can get LeBron. I don't know that you're beating the Celtics. I just don't know.
They're generationally good now. The Celtics,
right now,
because they have guys in their 20s that are top 10 players
and
at their position.
Dallas, it's like. I heard a lot of people.
I love the Mavericks team.
I read a lot of people on social media that said, Dallas is going to go get swept. I'm like, well, here's the deal, right? Indiana should have won 2 of these games against Boston, and they folded because they do not have the experience to close out those games.
That's the key.
Dallas ain't that. Dallas
No.
has more experience. You got guys like Luka and Kyrie Irving, by the way, who's got a ring.
He's a championship player. I
Yes.
told you, I think Luka is a championship player that just hasn't gotten his ring yet.
I think it's Boston in 6, but I think
Yeah.
Dallas wins 2 games.
It could go 7, but I think Boston
could
wins.
go 7.
I think Boston wins in 6 or 7.
6
but
or
I think
7.
that if in that elimination game, it's going to come down to the final minute regardless.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. This is going to be a really good finals. A really good finals.
I am looking forward to it.
I just like watching the Mavs play. And I really wanted the T-Wolves to knock them off, but after watching
it wouldn't have been as good. It wouldn't have been as good.
No. The T-Wolves aren't ready. They're a young team that has a lot of promise and a good future.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards, I thought he was one of the best players in the whole league in the regular season, but
It's Choke City, man.
It's Choke City. He gets to the Western Conference Finals, and he's like invisible for half these games.
Yeah, a couple good poster plays, though.
Yeah, no, he's good for a big play here.
He is good for that, but closing out a playoff game against teams with championship players is a whole other ballgame.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
He ain't ready for that.
Agreed.
Yet. All right, we'll hit the vet line with DaShawn Abrams. That's coming up next.
Vet Alumni. And now it's the Vet Line.
Why don't you answer your phone?
Joined now on the vet line by DaShawn Abrams, Emmy-winning editor for ESPN.
Yes, sir.
And, of course, host of Out of My League podcast. DaShawn, thanks for joining us.
Hey, man, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're doing well, man. We're excited
Yes,
about
sir.
a few things. It's the NFL offseason, and there's a lot happening in the NFL, especially with our beloved Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going right to the money question. The main man, Jalen Hurts. Do you think we're going to see the Jalen of 2022 more so, or the Jalen of 2023 more so?
Yeah, I think this year you are going to see 2022 Jalen Hurts. I would say not only that his weapons are still intact, but you still have Sirianni there, so he has the comfortability there. And I think Kellen Moore is going to bring in some concepts that he was used to under Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of mixed things there. You see John Ross there. You see Paris Campbell there. The speed elements there. One thing they missed a lot last year was a lot of like the vertical slot guys, right? The speed guys are going to catch it through the middle. Little play action things. Because, AJ and Devontae, you can put them, you can kind of line them up anywhere on the field, and they're going to dominate. But they're really missed. With Quez Watkins, he just didn't produce the way they needed it. And that's one element of the offense they're also missing. And, the motion that Kellen's bringing in, that's going to, I felt like last year, stagnant, right? There's a lot stagnant with the offense. You kind of see the same formations with the same guys lined up in the same spot. So the defenses knew exactly what was going on. You heard multiple teams say that in their press conferences after the games. Yeah, we saw this on film. We knew exactly where they were going. So this is a year that I think we're going to see a lot more of the 2022 Jalen Hurts.
I like to hear that. And
Yeah,
I'd like to see that even more. I think you're right, though, because there's a little bit of an unpredictability now with what they're going to put on the field. And Kellen Moore, to your point, he likes to make it comfortable for the quarterback. He likes to give the quarterback the outs. And you compound that with one of the best running backs in the world now, a complete running back, and it could be exciting. Now, to the other side of the ball, that's where the real questions are for us as legitimate Philadelphians here. And really, I don't know what we're going to get out of the linebacker position. What do you think as a whole we're going to get from this defense with Fangio at the helm?
Yeah, I think structurally the defense will be intact and they'll play better than they did last year. The problems I have with the defense already, I'm already kind of seeing, just looking at the depth chart and kind of seeing where the team lined up, is defensive tackle is very light. There's not a ton of guys that, we love Jalen Carter. You guys, Jordan Davis is obviously there. Yeah. You got Milton there. Tackle, you need a vet there. You need a guy. You think about it. Fletcher Cox played a lot of snaps last year.
He did.
Yeah.
Even when those guys were on the team. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, like there has to be somebody like a Calais Campbell. Like there has to be a veteran DT out there that's going to give you serviceable snaps. Think about it. Jordan Davis hasn't played a complete season yet. So that's one DT kind of out of rotation some games. Jalen Carter is going to play a lot of snaps this year. Is that going to wear him down towards the end of the year?
Right.
Milton's been playing great football, but he's also that third kind of DT coming in. So there's some question marks there at defensive tackle. And then I look at edge and I'm like, okay, I like the speed. I like the athleticism on the edge. But where are the guys that are going to be able to, handle some of the bigger tackles in the league? We're used to, I mean, Josh Sweat's fine. He's like 6'4", 6'5", 230. Like that's a defensive tackle type of defensive end type size there. But when you're talking about guys like Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff and guys like that, they're smaller, shiftier, faster guys, more athletic type ends, which Fangio kind of leans towards a little bit. Mm-hmm. But this is an interesting way to kind of look at the defense, just because the Eagles haven't typically went this light at defensive line at all. Like Jordan Davis is obviously the biggest on the defensive line, but usually you see guys that got a little bit more size, longer arms, that kind of thing. And that's one thing that I'm paying attention to is like the depth there on the defensive line, which is usually a strength to this team.
Yeah, that's a good point. Point. That's something that historically with the Birds, you've seen beefy dudes up there.
And is usually stacked. Howie's in the last several years has loaded up the defensive line, and this year it's not so loaded.
He might not be done. He might not be done. The best GM in football might not be done.
No, he's not done.
He's not done.
You mentioned Bryce Huff in passing. What do you make of Bryce Huff? I mean, they're paying him a lot of money, and he's a maybe guy. He's like a maybe.
Yes. So they are banking on straight potential with Bryce Huff. He's a good pass rusher. Let's give that to him. He's a good pass rusher. His snap count hasn't been nearly as what the Eagles defensive ends play.
He played his snap count last year equaled Brandon Graham's snap count last year.
Yeah. So that's my problem with the defensive line. There's a lot of maybes, a lot of question marks. And for a team that historically invests in the trenches, you see it on offensive defense this year. Like, do we have a surefire right guard here? Do we have edge rushers and defensive tackles that you can depend on week in, week out? Gauntlet of a schedule that, well, not this year, but last year's schedule was gauntlet. But this year, I mean, look about it. You're going Brazil week 1.
Yeah, no, I hate that. I hate
Brazil week
1.
Oh
man,
so glad to hear other fans say that, because I was telling somebody the other day I really don't like that, and they used it as a home game.
Yeah, I hate.
They know Eagles fans like, come on, guys, like you're using an Eagles home game to.
It's such a disadvantage because Green Bay has a bigger fan base.
They're the international.
Yes,
they're the international club, like the Steelers and the Packers and the Cowboys. Would be the three that random people from around the world are going to cling to.
Absolutely. All right. The other question mark, aside from Jalen Hurts, which is my question mark, we covered that. My biggest question mark on the entire team is the linebacker core, especially the inside linebackers. What do you make of this linebacker core?
I think that this is a question that I'm still trying to put the pieces together with, right? Because it's sort of like what they've been doing the last, decade. Linebackers are just throwing guys in there and see what sticks at this point. It's interesting. Like they're hoping, they really want Nakobe Dean to take this job and run with it. They would love that.
What do you think about Nakobe Dean? You think he makes it to week 5 without being put on the IR?
Man.
I really hope Nakobe Dean that he stays healthy this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not only that, I just think that he does have a lot to offer. He's a smaller guy, though. He's not that great in pass coverage. So there's a lot of question marks there. Like, even Zach Bond that they brought in from New Orleans last year, he played some edge at Wisconsin, and he played some off-ball backer at Wisconsin. But he's another question mark there, right? They're hoping that he gets in and can give them serviceable snaps. And even Jeremiah, like Trotter Jr., I love the storyline. Everybody who's an Eagles fan loves that storyline.
Yeah.
But is he going to be in the? He's another smaller guy. Again,
Yep.
this is a small defense, guys.
Better get
Yeah.
home. You better get home.
Guys.
Right.
Exactly. Like, if you're going against a team that consistently can run the ball down at you, what are you going to do?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is a major question mark.
Yes.
My concern with the Eagles this year, and I've been really thinking about it the last few weeks, is this is a really light team on defense, especially. Offense, they're fine. They're going to be able to hold their own offensively. Defense, they're extremely light across the board.
Yeah.
We all love Avante. Avante, hurt every year. The guy.
Right.
Also a smaller guy.
Yep.
He'll fight you, smaller guy. Right? Like, there's not, size-wise, there's not a whole lot of, you know what I mean, like, depth there on this defense. And that's one thing I'm worried about. Like, short guys are going to be able to fly around. They're going to be able to make plays. Devin White's there, so they're also hoping he can give them serviceable snaps. But one thing about him is, as good of an athlete he is, he'll do his own kind of free play, you know, here and there, which can burn his teammates in the back end. Ooh. Right? He tends to roam a little bit. He wants to kind of do his own kind of thing from time to time, which I'm sure Vic saw that on film, and I'm sure they're going in the film room like, hey, like, we really need you to just do your job.
Yeah, that's the key. You got to be in the right spot in Vic's system. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That really is the key. So, shifting focus now, you know, we've done about 131 episodes, DaShawn, and most of the time we have the front-facing guys, you know, the news anchors, the media personalities. So we're excited to have a behind-the-scenes type of guy like yourself who edits and really puts it together, the final product. So we want to ask you, what was it like to work on an Emmy Award-winning project?
Wow. Yeah, man, I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm so fortunate to be where I am right now. Just to give you a little insight into my background, I started in radio. I was producing in radio, went to TV, was still producing there. And then ESPN came calling. They had a role there, came up to ESPN. And I've edited on so many different projects. And for me to win an Emmy last year was like, man, I'm telling you, man,
that's a blessing.
It brought a lot of joy to my family. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So the Emmy I won was for Sportscenter, and it wasn't for one specific project, but it was, you know, I think it was best sports. Actually, I have the Emmy right here. I'll tell you what it is.
Beautiful. As I'd expect you would.
Yeah. So it is the best, most outstanding studio show is what it is, daily.
Beautiful.
So, so I worked a lot on SportsCenter. I don't do it as much now just because I'm working on a lot of events. But at the time, like, there's a lot going on in sports last year. As you can see in the NFL world and the NBA world, and just a lot of the pieces I cut. I mean, you can cut anything between just a short little video or style, or you can, you know, do a whole entire, you know, rise piece where you're doing basically like a storytelling montage, or you know, kind of like not an SE feature, but kind of like a feature,
like the main event
kind of feel. Yeah. So it kind of varies what you're want to editing there, and kind of what the producers kind of want. But I've been fortunate enough to work on a few projects, and I'm just glad I was included in that. So it was really awesome.
Definitely. So what part of the editing process would you say is your favorite part? Is it the initial putting it together? Is it the final revision? Or is it somewhere in the middle there?
I'll tell you, editors do not like a lot of revisions, so it would not be that.
Fair enough. We're producers, and we understand that as music producers.
I put it together, it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
If
it's
only.
Good
the way it is.
Yes. Don't touch it.
But no, I really enjoy the storytelling aspect of it all. When you're talking with your producer and kind of getting their vision, and then also, you know, as an editor, you got to kind of make their vision y'all's vision. So it's one of those things where you put your own kind of spin on it too, to kind of add to the piece. Because there's one thing I know working with producers is they want your feedback too.
Yeah.
It's you guys' project. It's you guys in the room figuring things out. Even if you need to storyboard it out, that storytelling process is going to pay so much dividends when you're organized, when you have everything in line. Like, this is what we're trying to get at. This is the sound we have. This is the video we have. Let's show this here. Let's cover this with this. Like, if you have, sit down interviews, is the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's just the entire process of just you and one other person sitting there and brainstorming, putting the storyboard together, and then going for it. And as you're starting to lay down video and audio, I mean, we always build with video, audio first, but same difference.
Yeah, for sure.
And you want to continue to kind of build that out. And as you're going through it, maybe there's things you're tweaking, and that's just the process. And the storytelling aspect is what I really enjoy as an editor.
Yeah, absolutely. And that synergy that you're talking about is really the key. When you're in a room with somebody and you feel that synergy, and that actually, Tek, that conveniently leads me to the next part of this interview, which is the synergy we hope to see with the Philadelphia 76ers. There's a lot of talk right now, DaShawn. Which guy is going to come here? Is it LeBron? Is it Jimmy Butler? Is it Paul George? Which one of those three would you say is the best fit for Tyrese and Joel?
Well, we're going to take LeBron off the bill there.
Fair enough.
LeBron's not coming to Philly.
Yeah, he's going to take less money to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's not doing that. I will say right now, I was in 76 and I had to choose between Jimmy Butler and Paul George. I think they're around the same age. I think they're around 34, 35, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. We'll see.
Yeah, Butler's 35 and Paul George is 34.
Okay, yeah.
Still
right near their prime.
34, 35, right.
Yep.
So I were the Sixers. Daryl Morey and his guys in the room, and we're doing pros and cons. I would say leadership. Who's that going with? Jimmy Butler. Okay. Playoff performer, Jimmy Butler. Familiarity with the area, Butler.
Yeah.
We all can admire Paul George, how smooth of a ball player he is, right? But he's missed way too many playoff games. He often shrinks in big moments. And I don't know about his leadership. I mean, when's the last time you heard a player talk about Paul George's leadership?
That's very, very good point.
I don't think I've ever heard that. Right.
Yeah.
And the one person, and Joel Embiid spoke on this, the one person that he respects more than anybody else who held him accountable was Jimmy Butler.
That's true.
That's why they're so close. And if you want to, not to say you're going to nail, Joel Embiid down as a 76er for life, but if you want to make sure he stays in the area, you might want to make him a little bit happy, right? Like you might want to, add some pieces here and there to him, but I would really intrigue with Butler back to Philly scenario. The problem is he's going to want a max. That right there is
Keith Pompey. Keith Pompey, who works for the Philadelphia Inquirer, he reported this week that the Sixers are not only interested in trading for Butler, but they are willing to give him the absolute max, as citing that they regret not doing it 5 years ago. What's that? $209 million. They're willing to give him $200+ million.
Well, they paid Ben Simmons a lot of money too.
Right.
So what do you make of that situation, Ben Simmons?
Guys.
Yeah.
I got you guys. So that's a lot of money for Jimmy at 35. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a lot of money for Jimmy at 35.
Yeah.
And
they got to spend it. They got to spend it.
So that's what I was about to ask. I'm like, if you don't get those guys, a Jimmy or a Paul George, out there for you to get.
Yeah. What do you do? I mean, certainly. You can make a splash. You can make a splash trade for someone that we're not talking about right now, but based on what is visible, what we can see, who the hell wants Klay Thompson right now? Exactly. I love Klay, but who the hell wants him
look,
right
a shooter.
Right.
A shooter's a shooter.
But he's hurt every year, and he's a shell of himself, kind of.
You're right.
He's going to go down as one of the greatest shooters of all time, but I mean, he's not that guy.
Yeah.
Presently, I just don't know what they do. We were discussing Zach LaVine earlier. I mean, I don't even know if I'm so super enthused about Zach LaVine.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I hear you on that. I think the other name that you monitor a little bit, and I don't even know how much of a game changer it is, and I love the player and I love what he brings to the table. But how about the hometown kid in Mikal Bridges?
I love Mikal Bridges. I'm upset that he wasn't here.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
His mother worked for the
I'm a
organization.
Suns fan. Yeah, his mom's a part of the organization. I'm a Suns fan, so I appreciate y'all trading him.
Well, yeah, I mean, Devin Booker is one of the
draft
greatest
night
players
was,
in the
yeah.
league. Yeah,
LeBron might be going to you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke that way. Yeah, a lot of smoke that way. I will say this: if there's anybody to get the media's attention, is Rich Paul and LeBron every year.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rich Paul, bringing back a Prem question real quick that we flew past, but Ben Simmons, right? He's back at it. He's on Instagram. He's putting up his shooting videos and his pics where he's working out. Do you expect this guy to ever play again?
I don't know if Ben Simmons has any interest in actually playing basketball anymore.
I know.
He loves the videos. He loves the attention. It appears, at least. And he has one of the best agents in the league who's going to consistently try to push for him to play for a different team, or he needs to be in the right situation or what have you. We have not seen Ben Simmons play probably more than 15 games in like 5 years.
Right.
It's remarkable.
Even this past year, he was out the whole year. He comes back one game, and I'll give him credit. He looked great that game, and then you never saw him again. That was it.
It's a conundrum. It's an absolute basketball paradox.
Because the kid, you know what? He's actually a baller when he wants to play.
You nailed it. It's
crazy.
attitude, and some people just don't have the championship makeup.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't have that killer instinct to win.
Right.
That's what you really need. Win, 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 baby, like Al Davis would always say.
I know.
But though, Ben Simmons was good for Philadelphia, solid for Philadelphia.
He was.
Up until one play in the playoffs against the Hawks where he didn't want to shoot the back. At that moment right there, everybody in the league knew he was not returning to that team.
Wow, that was it. That was it.
And that was the mental break. That was his demise right there. That's where his basketball career plummeted.
Unbelievable.
I remember even after that play, like people were clowning him on social media. Of course, that's what we do.
Yes.
And things are going off. You're hearing, Woj and Shams and all these guys are saying, "Oh yeah, he has." This trade value, he can get 4 or 5 fourth-round picks from, Utah or Timberwolves or whatever team you want to name. And it ended up being the James Harden deal. That was a lose-lose for everybody.
Yes, it was.
Man, I know. And they really dropped the ball when, like Tek said earlier, the first time they let Jimmy Butler walk.
Yeah.
That was a breaking point because the Sixers' window were the years that both the Raptors and the Bucks won rings. Would you agree with that?
I'm telling you, man. I'm not even a Sixers fan, but I was like, okay, if they got to choose between Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Every time. You would think. I mean.
And when I saw they traded Jimmy Butler because they didn't want to give him the max, but they gave Tobias Harris the richest contract in Sixers franchise history, I was like, no way they just did this.
A terrible organization.
So moving on then to organizations that are not terrible. The NBA Finals just about set. Do you think Boston wins the ring this year?
I think that Dallas is going to end up winning tonight. They are going to play Boston in the finals, and I think Dallas just has too much with Luka and Kyrie. And one thing about this team is
I like it.
You have to have guys to close games out.
Yes, I said that earlier.
Yeah.
There's not a player on Boston that I can say is a certified killer in crunch time.
Not Tatum? Not Tatum?
No to Tatum.
Wow.
Well, the Sixers passed on Tatum. We know that.
We know that.
I'll say this, and I got a lot of love for Tatum and Brown, but if you're asking me who the best two players on the court are, Luka and Kyrie every day of the week.
Yeah. You can't argue with that.
I can't argue with that.
And you're talking about a guy in Kyrie who has in his veins at all times close out a game single-handedly in the fourth quarter by himself.
That's true.
What's going on in the game right now with Minnesota? Luka Doncic is, I think, he has 20 points in the first half already. It's only the second quarter.
Right.
Luka is a championship player that just hasn't won his ring yet.
He should have been the MVP, by the way. He should have been the MVP.
I agree.
Their obsession with Jokic
It's weird.
It's
really
ridiculous.
odd, man. It's really odd.
He wasn't the MVP this year. It's
No.
ridiculous.
I thought it should have been Luka or Shea.
Yeah.
And they deserved it.
I agree 1,000%. What about Dallas' supporting cast? See, Boston's got a strong supporting cast
They do.
around
They do.
Tatum and Jalen.
That's one thing that I'm looking at, right, with matchups. And I love one player I really, really love for Boston. At the time, nobody really thought it was a big deal. But Derek White has been the ultimate perfect player for their system.
Yep.
Like a guy who is 6'5", can shoot the three, can defend, can make all the scrappy plays they need when Brown and Tatum are going. Like, he's been one of the glue guys, right? Like, he's been good. Drew Holiday is the consummate professional. Every team in the league could use a Drew Holiday.
That's true.
Team league. He always can scrap. He can always defend. He's always going to defend the best player on the court. And he's a quiet leader, but he's a leader. Like, Drew Holiday is there, and that's one thing that's helping Boston right now. But I will say this, the Porzingis thing scares me. I appreciate Derek White. I love Drew Holiday. Tatum and Brown. Tatum hasn't been that great, honestly, in the playoffs. Brown has been kind of long, but they're a good team. I would say with the Mavs, though, there's just something you see with synergy. Something we talked about earlier with producers and editors.
Yep.
There's some synergy. If you're really watching the Dallas Mavericks, just look how connected they are.
Yeah.
Right? You know, they're a connected group, really driven, but the two trades they made at the deadline, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, size, shooting, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a team that have length. They're like Jones and these guys, like, they have guys off Green off the bench. Hardaway off the bench. They have the guys here, shooters. They have size. They have guys to make the extra effort plays. They have the ingredients. Jason Kidd can actually coach. You know what I mean?
That's true. He can.
Guys are really. You know what I mean? He's making really good adjustments on the fly. And then you have two certified killers on the floor that. What are you going to do with these guys?
I know. Former co-rookie of the year, Jason Kidd, leading the way.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the Mavs are going to give every team in the league fits because you think about it. Luka is the same size as LeBron. Same size as LeBron can shoot. I mean, passing, basketball IQ off the charts.
Yeah.
This guy's unbelievable, and he's only 24. He's going to carry this league. And then you have the Kyrie Irving, a guy who's, I think he's 30, 31. He is a certified killer when it matters most.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if the game is close in the fourth quarter against Boston, it is going to be Kyrie Irving. A team, by the way, was a former Boston Celtic, a team that he played for and said he wanted to come back with and then wanted to leave.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of juice there. A lot of juice.
Right? There's a lot of blood flow there. There's a lot of hatred that he's going to endure while he's in Boston. You don't think Kyrie Irving's going to be up to that?
True.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
I hate to ever root for a Dallas team, but let's go.
Let's go. This is true. You heard it here first.
I'm telling you, you guys are going to see all the social video all over with Kyrie Sage in the stadium. I guarantee you.
Yeah, well, I think you might be right. I think that it goes 6 or 7 either way. DaShawn, we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to talk some football with us, some basketball, and we'll always check for the newest work you got coming out, and we hope to talk with you again in the future.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie.
You know that the numbers don't lie.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Numbers don't lie.
Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie.
Keeping it real.
don't lie. We return.
I'm really excited for this to be back, Tech.
Yeah.
Because baseball's my favorite sport.
Of course.
When it comes
I
to
know
analyzing the game.
I know it is.
So I woke up yesterday morning and I thought to myself, man, the Phils, in spite of a road trip that we were just going to forget, they're having a phenomenal season. And I thought to myself, just how phenomenal is this season comparatively to some of the greatest offenses to ever step on the field? And most baseball historians would probably agree that the 1927 Yankees, Murderers Row, the year in which Babe Ruth set the then record of 60 home runs in a season, most would agree, greatest offense, Major League history. So I started digging into the numbers a little bit. And I thought, okay, an offense that good, through 57 games, Phils have played 57 games, how good were they? So the 1927 Yankees scored 6.14 runs per game. The 2024 Phils score 5.24 runs per game, leading the league. That's only 0.9 runs off of the 1927 Yankees.
Right.
Then I thought, well, they've had some games where they really don't look good. And they score 0, 1, or 2 runs. Tech, you'd be blown away to know that through 57 games, the 1927 Yankees scored 0, 1, or 2 runs 11 times.
Yeah.
The Phillies, through 57 games, have scored 0, 1, or 2 runs 11 times. Wow. Does that blow your mind? Because this is the greatest offense that set the bar for what great offense is in the early days of baseball, when baseball was really gaining its steam, the 1920s.
They set the standard even to this day.
Even to this day. So then I went a little further. I thought, well, how many times that whole year did the Yankees score 0, 1, or 2 runs? And it happened 28 times. So you could realistically see like 17 to 20 more games where the Phils just don't have it. They score 0 or they score 1, or they might even win a game 2-1 with our pitching. But the offense,
they've already done.
But the offense would just be kind of dead, Yeah. It just blew my mind. And there's a little more when you really factor in that back then, the pitching wasn't as good as it is now.
No.
You have, around the league, most of these teams are going to have 1, maybe 2 aces, and all of them have at least 1 flamethrower in the pen. Yeah. Even if they're a horrible squad, they have 1 flamethrower. So through 57 games, the 27 Yankees were 40-17. The Phils are 39-18. It's almost identical. So then I thought a little further. I thought, well, the Phils just lost 3 in a row. Hadn't happened all year.
Yeah.
27 Yankees lost 3 in a row 1 time.
Right.
So you gotta bank on the fact that the Phils won't lose 3 in a row again. But that 27 Yankees team, Tech, they even lost 4 in a row at 1 time. The Phils haven't done that yet. The Dodgers have, though. They've lost 5 in a row.
Right.
It's also important to know, because I'm a Philly A's guy, the Philly A's history. The Philly A's swept the 27 Yankees during that season.
Oh, wow.
And then 1929 and 1930, 2 years later, they went back-to-back as World Series champions. With Connie Mack.
Yes.
At the helm, the legendary Connie Mack. The last tidbit here, comparing the 27 Yankees to the 2024 Phils, is that both of them, identically, have had 3 two-game losing streaks before June.
Wow.
Tech, numbers don't lie.
Woo! Need a better betting app? You need Rhythm.
Rhythm makes it easy to find AI-backed picks and player props for every single NFL, NBA game. You can build custom sports betting models or have AI build them for you and start getting recommended bets, score predictions, and more that will help you become a better bettor. Download Rhythm now and start getting free picks daily. Rhythm is the place for data-backed props and picks. RITHMM.
Rhythm is a proud partner of the Vet Alumni Podcast. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. It's time for Prem's Picks.
These games are a blowout, a human lock. You can bet your children's unborn children on these games.
Prem's Picks. How'd we do last week?
Only 1 and 2, bro. It's hard for me to get going this year.
Yeah,
it's all right though. I sit at 7-8.
Ooh, 1 game below.
On the outside of the 3rd wild card spot, looking in.
Yeah.
It's okay though. I got 3 solid locks for you, Tech.
Let's get to the locks.
The world champion Texas Rangers have not been as advertised. We all know that. But Corey Seager What a pace he's been on. He hit like
Yeah.
8 home runs in 8 consecutive games.
Yep.
They go to Miami to play the Marlins, who are putting one Sixto Sanchez, previously mentioned on the show.
Here we go.
With his 0-3 and his 6.25 ERA.
Brutal.
I think the Rangers go in and just obliterate him.
Yeah.
They need to keep pace in the AL West, where they're only like a couple games behind the Mariners.
Yeah.
Who have kind of faltered a bit as well.
Yes.
So, give me the run line, too. Take the Rangers, -110 rather, 105. -105 with the run line.
Wow.
You got to take that.
Yeah.
-1.5. They're going to win the game. They're going to win handily. I would go 8-3, 10-4, something like that.
Wow.
Rangers, lock. We hate the Astros around here, but
Hate 'em.
they have a really good home series this weekend against the Minnesota Twins, who are actually playing better baseball overall.
Yeah.
But, Ronel Blanco taking the mound for the Astros, 5-0 with his 1.99 ERA and 50 strikeouts. Pablo Lopez is not a bad pitcher going for the Twins, but I think that the Astros handle this and they win the game at home on a Friday night when they really need to get winning and get going as well to keep pace in the wild card race in the AL. So I would comfortably take the Astros money line in a tough game to pick, but you could be confident. Take the Astros money line to bounce back and win against the visiting Minnesota Twins.
Lock.
All right, last one. Now, this is a game that you would say, well, of course that's going to happen, but not so fast. The Rockies are kind of hot, and they're going to L.A. to start a weekend set against division rival L.A. Dodgers, who have really been kind of up and down. The Dodgers getting swept by the Reds last weekend.
Yeah.
You really didn't expect to see that.
No.
But, Dakota Hudson taking the mound for the Rockies in L.A. Walker Buehler for the Dodgers has not been the Walker Buehler we expect to see. I think the Dodgers win the game. I think they cover the run line, which is -1.5, like all baseball run lines are. I think you can take that comfortably at Dodger Stadium on a Friday night. Rockies going to L.A. Take the Dodgers to cover. Lock. Let's recap, Tech. We got the world champion Rangers going to Miami to cover the run line against the Marlins. The Astros hosting the Twins, who have a better record than them, but the Astros with their best pitcher on the mound, 7 games under 500. It's going to get desperate soon. Take them, take their money line. Lock. Lastly, Tech, the Rockies, who we know give good teams some trouble. They have just done that. That's what they do. They gave the Phils trouble. Yep. I think that the Dodgers, though, will bounce back from a disappointing weekend last weekend. Walker Buehler on the mound. Take them with the run line on a Friday night at Dodger Stadium. This has been Prem's MLB Picks.
And with that, we will see you next week.
Vet Alumni.